Hello, I'm Mark Thompson at Super Simple 365 and I'm going to take you through what's new in Microsoft Teams. We're going to look back at August and look forward into September. Let's kick off with some revised timelines. We're going to start with Meeting Join Custom Branding. This is due late August to early September. This will allow your organization to brand the Meeting Join experience when people outside your organization join your meetings. This is a nice one, the live fluid components in Teams chat. This just means that you can work together. Actually, I could have used this a couple of weeks ago. I was working with some people and we wanted to work together on a list and it's just a little bit clunky handling that in a Teams chat, and it would have been great to be able to do what you can see on the screen now. But that's due mid to late September. Okay, this presenting to PowerPoint Teams from PowerPoint web app. It's due sometime now to mid November. That's quite a long tail, isn't it? But this is about the ability when you're in a Teams meeting to suddenly just open a PowerPoint slide and then just tell it to push that PowerPoint presentation into the Teams meeting that you've got open at the time. Okay, this Teams meeting recording auto expiration, this has been pushed back a little bit to September through to mid-November as well. So this is the ability for your recordings in Microsoft Teams to be auto-deleted after 60 days. Your organization can opt out of it, they can make the number lower, they can make it higher, but it's just a great way to make sure that you are keeping stuff on purpose and not just out of habit. Okay, the next revised timeline is registration availability for view-only attendees on your meetings. Now, this has been put on hold and I'll come back to this when they release it again. End-to-end encryption, so just make sure your calls in Teams super secure. Been pushed back again, September to early October. Looking forward to that actually. It'd be interesting to see how organizations make use of that. So look out for that, September to early October. Another late one is a new default native notification settings for new Teams users. Okay, let me just rephrase that. So when somebody new joins your organization and they're new to Microsoft Teams, this just means that when they get notified, instead of activity, for example, instead of it going in, popping up that purple box in Teams, as well as you having notifications in Windows, the Teams notifications are going to get pushed to the Windows system or Mac, and so you get all your notifications in one place. It looks quite nice, and you could probably do this now, depending on your organization. You could go into your Teams settings and you could tell it to start pushing all your notifications to Windows, so you only have one set of notifications and not two. Okay folks, now we're getting into our full updates. We've got some really nice ones in here today. Reading progress in Microsoft Teams. So this is on the education side, and I've got to be honest, I don't do any work in education, so I'm just going to lightly touch this, not go into a lot of detail, but it means that Teams can support students in building fluency in reading, and it just helps teachers by being able to assign the work. And you can see on the screen here, you can see that when the teachers are reading it, when the child gets the reading, they go to Teams and they read it into Teams. You can see here what it's got some things for teachers to look out for. It's things that are mispronunciations, self-corrections, so you can see there. So it just gives a teacher a heads up on what's going on. So you get educator review and insights, so it just helps the teacher, and that's due for a few of the SKUs or the licenses for Teams in education. So like I say, I don't know that much about it, but I've got to be honest, as a parent, although my kids' school don't use Teams, they did in the pandemic, but not using it at the moment, but I think that is really useful. I know that we'd all like to have only 15 children in every class, but when a teacher's struggling, I think that's a great option. Okay, so next up we have the ability to synchronize your Teams channel names with channel files folder behind the scenes. So let me just set the scene a little bit. You know that when you have a Microsoft team, you have the Files tab. Now your files aren't really in your team, they're kind of behind the team in SharePoint, and in a Documents folder, there's in a document library, there's a folder for each of your channels in Teams. The issue though is when a team gets renamed, the file behind the scenes wasn't. So if you're a SharePoint person and you tend to use that view, you kind of get disconnected. And when you're looking at a team and where those files are, it was just a little bit more difficult than it should have been to work out where those files are. That's getting corrected. You can see here, this is not a great graphic, by the way, that I've got here, but you can see here that this files area behind the scenes has got a name. And just imagine that I've now renamed my channel, and instantly it gets renamed. So I think that's going to really help. I think this has been a pain for, certainly I've been teaching Teams now and training on Teams for over 3.5 years. And this has always been an issue. So look out for this in the middle of September going into the middle of October. Okay, breakout rooms. So do you ever find yourself being the organizer and being the person responsible for the team and the meeting, and you want to use up breakout rooms, but your meeting has to start, then you have to sort them out on the fly, and then you have to assign people, and you're doing all this while you're trying to work on your meeting and you're trying to present or whatever you're doing. That is just an unnecessary stress, and it's always been a challenge for people. So if you're one of those people, you're going to really like this. You can create your rooms and you can carry out participant assignments, so you can basically put people in a room in advance of your meeting. So you can see here we're going to get a new tab in your meeting, and you can create your rooms, assign people. Now you can assign people automatically, or you can manually put them in, and this applies to meetings in regular channels and private meetings. And you can see I've probably covered most of that. All the things that you would do to set up, you can do that in advance, and this is due mid-September to late September. So I think because of the problem that this solves, so technically it's clever and I really like it, but this gets started a month because it's just going to be so useful for so many people. Okay, so this was a close second for start of the month. This is the Breakout Room Presenter support. So you are the organizer, and up until this release, you'd be the only person who can go between the rooms, and you're the only person that can make any changes. Wouldn't it be great if you could assign a handful of people to help you with that job? Well, you can now. So let's have a look at the ability to extend the management of the breakout rooms to specific presenters. You can see here on the right hand side, this person is assigning those presenters, and they can do things. They can assign, delete, open, close rooms, create rooms, set timers. So you can see they can basically manage the rooms, the sort of stuff that you would have to do as an organizer yourself. That's due mid to late September on the Teams desktop. Now, just a note on that, there can only be one room manager at a time, so that will get handed between people as they take that right. But I think that looks really good, folks. Look out for that. I think that's going to be make a big difference. Okay, so refreshed Microsoft Whiteboard. So you can see that the color coding isn't right on this. This has just been lifted from my Microsoft 365 and Teams session that I present. But this does relate to Teams. So the Whiteboard you have a web version, you have the same thing pretty much the same thing inside Teams, and you have a full version on Windows. So I'm really focusing on the Teams side of this. So the experience is going to be the same across all devices, hopefully. Now the features vary by the Whiteboard version. Now the rollout of these updates I've already started and should be complete by the end of October. If you're a Whiteboard user, then have a look at the notes and then go over and have a look at the full article. There's so many updates, I couldn't list them here because they'll just go well off the bottom of the page. But if you're a Whiteboard user, check that out, it's well worth a look. Okay, so I really quite like this. Are you the kind of person that when you're having a meeting or you're presenting or using Teams for training, do you always look for new ways to engage the people that you're working with? So it's an ongoing challenge, isn't it? Engaging people remotely, because you lose a little bit of that face-to-face contact. But anyway, I think this is for you. The Forms Word Cloud poll for Teams meeting. Let me just rephrase that. It just means that when you've got some kind of meeting going on, you can use Forms to create a poll, but you can create a question type that will create this word cloud. And what's great is that depending on the amount of people that say it, it just gives you an idea for sentiment or a feeling on a topic inside that meeting that you're having. The results are anonymous, so you can't pin any of those comments to anyone. So like on here, where someone said something's boring, or same as usual, then you can't attribute that to anybody. Looks really good, folks. Look out for it late September to early October. Okay, so now we're on to our bite-sized updates. Okay, so the first bite-sized update we've got is introducing background effects to the web. So you'd be aware that up until now, you could only do the background effects on the desktop version of Teams, while the browser users are going to be getting that functionality soon. You're going to get more paging in video galleries. This just means that when your screen is taken up by people's video feeds, you can press a little button at the bottom and it will slide across and you'll see another set of those videos. So that's called paging as you go across. Spam notification in the call toast. They call it the call toast, folks. When you get an incoming call, you get in the bottom right corner of your screen, you get a little pop-up telling you there's a call. Now, if it's likely to be spam, you're going to get a little notification that's going to tell you that it's likely to be spam. Diagnostic data viewing capabilities. So if you are really interested in the diagnostic data that Microsoft are receiving from you, you can now view this if you want to. Look out for that. It's going live for some people now, but look out for that by the mid-September. Now, voice over IP and PS10 calls recordings. So this is about when people have dialed into a call or a meeting that you've got. It just means that when those calls are recorded, you can get a transcription. So when you look at it afterwards, you can have the recording and the transcription. Obviously, the PSTN, the person who dialed in with a normal phone, can't see that because they just used the call, right? But the voice over IP, so if you're sitting at your computer with a headset, then you'll be able to look at that afterwards. Okay, so the ability to swap content and galleries coming back. It just meant that if somebody was showing content, as a person watching it, you were stuck watching that. But now you're going to get the ability to swap those back over with a gallery of people in the meeting if you want to. And we have now our ones to watch. So I need to be cut a little bit of slack here, folks, because this is updates where there's I don't have a lot of detail, or they're a little bit further out. But I just want to give you a heads up so that we don't have a lot of detail on these. Okay, first one is the parent connection in Teams for Education. This is a great way for the educator to hook up not with the child but with the child's carer or parent. So look out for that in September. Hopefully that's in for those of you whose kids are going back to school. Hopefully that feature will be available ready for the start. Scaling Teams live events to 100,000 attendees, which is quite impressive. Check that out sometime this month as well. Now, anonymous meeting join across clouds. So this is about the fact that there's different types of tenants or setups in Microsoft 365, which is where your Teams functionality it lives. Now, there's different types of tenants, just the regular normal ones that we have. There's government ones, Department for Defence. Now, this just means that you can anonymously join meetings between those, and will hopefully just improve collaboration between people in those different types of clouds or tenants. Content from camera. Now, I'm not super crystal clear on how this is going to pan out. I think maybe it is somebody joining a meeting, and I could probably also join it from my mobile device, and then I can maybe take a photograph or video, or just push content from that device into the meeting. Or maybe it's just for people who join on a handheld device or anything with a camera on it, and they push that in. So it just means that you're going to be able to, maybe I'm speaking to colleagues and I'm talking about something that I've got on my desk, maybe I've drafted something else, and I could just take a picture of it, zap it up to the meeting super fast. But let's have a look at that. That does look interesting. Okay, I really like this. So Teams Live Events has got a question and answer functionality, but the regular Teams meetings don't. So let's say you're doing an important presentation, and you want people to be able to ask questions. So you can have that question and then you answer those particular questions. That functionality is due in September. At the moment you have the chat, and it's a little bit clunky, and so many times I've heard people talk about a way to run a Q&A during Teams meetings. That I think is going to be really good. And as soon as I've got more detail, I'll make sure I share that with you. Top hits in search auto suggestions. Now I've got August down for that, and I haven't noticed it. That doesn't mean that it's not here. It just means that maybe I didn't notice it. But it's going to hopefully just improve your search results. So instead of you just when you're searching Teams, instead of you just getting all those results, it will tell you which ones it thinks are the best fit. So look out for that. You may already have it, folks. It might be that I've just not noticed it, or it might be that I've pushed it back and I didn't notice that either. Okay, so background effects on the web, September. I think I covered that already, didn't I? So let's just skip on from that. Okay, sharing the system audio meetings from the web. So you can see there that the web version of Teams is getting a little bit of love. When you're, say, showing a video and you're in a desktop, you get a little button there that allows you to also share your system audio. So the sound from a video, for example. Anyway, you web users are going to get that functionality too. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Commsverse. And actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do here, folks. I'm just going to drop in a video, like a little mini 90-second, 120-second video that I've done to talk about my session that I'm doing at Commsverse on the 15th of September. So I'm going to let that run, and I'll be back with you in a second. Hello, I'm Mark Thompson. I want to tell you what I'll be sharing with you at Commsverse, the Microsoft Teams conference happening in just a couple of weeks. I'm going to be talking about keeping up with Microsoft Teams and 365 in general, and answering the question, is it a daily problem or an amazing user engagement and content opportunity? Let's just start by talking about the challenge. Over the past month or so, there have been 112 new entries in the 365 roadmap. That doesn't count those which have been updated. And in the admin center, there are 88 new and updated articles. Without our help, this can be a minefield for our end users. So I'm going to talk about how my work with the Inform team keeps some of our biggest clients up to date with Microsoft Teams and 365. I'm going to tell you how you can filter this information and turn it into content your end users will want to see. How this can be used to create a community in Microsoft Teams where people discuss new features and share ideas. The same content can then be used to create a learning hub on SharePoint. We'll then talk about using the same content to engage with teams around your organization where you can present at their meetings, and you can even run monthly regular courses where people will come back month after month to learn about what's new in Microsoft Teams. Finally, I'll finish up with a discussion in the room about which parts of this could be automated and should you automate it. I've got some pretty strong views on this, but I would love to hear what you think. If you come to the room, it would be great if you'd share how your organization are doing it and have you automated this process. Okay, let's start wrapping up. Commsverse runs from the 15th to the 16th of September. I'm going to be talking about keeping up with Microsoft Teams and why all these updates are actually a good thing. My session is on the 15th of September and it runs from 10:45 to 11:45. You can come in person, and I hope you do, and engage in those conversations, or you can join online. So head off to commsverse.com and sign up. Okay folks, that brings us to the end of our time together. I hope you found that useful. So look out for next month's edition when we're going to be looking back at September and forward into October and beyond. If you want to keep up to date, you can check out Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn. Look for the podcast. I do a blog, so hop over to the blog and you get full details of what I've covered off. Check in the link notes and for a link over to there. You can also sign up for the newsletter, so every week you'll get a written update of what's happened the last week or so. If you're watching on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. It makes a big difference to get the message out there. But folks, for another month we are done. Thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you next month.